Hello and welcome to Arm with Controllers. This is Fabs and today I am playing Dissidia, Duodecim. As you just heard Garland, I believe, say. Isn't that nice? Okay, so this is effectively what happens if you have a Final Fantasy fighting game. It's got everything you'd expect from a Square Enix game, so you can equip weapons, there's experience and all that, which, might confuse and scare a lot of fighting game aficionados, but that's beside the point. Okay, so I'm going to just do a few random one-on-one battles just to show you what it's like. As you can see, it's got a ridiculously huge cast. You've got the quote-unquote main heroes and villains of the first 10 games. You've got a few extra people. You've got like Gilgamesh there. You've got some people like Tifa and whatnot. So I'm going to play as Squall because he is pretty much the generic go-to guy for a lot of people's first character. And according to the laws of random, I'm going to be playing against Kuja, FF9's favourite fruity possible transvestite. Ah, Kuja, you weird individual. Okay, so one of the lovely things about this game is you do get to pick the music that you're going to be fighting with. And there's a lot of music to pick from as well. So as I'm fighting against Kuja, I'm going to pick The Darkness of Eternity, which is the music you fight when you when you fight against Trance Kuja at the end of FF9, better known as the Dark Messenger. So here you go, you can hear that there. And you'll notice as well, I've got Squall wearing his Seed uniform. So these are such perfect fan games in the sense that they've got pretty much everything you could want as a fan. Everything gets a reference. Every piece of music, all the attacks are for the most part taken from stuff your characters do in the game, which is pretty cool. You can activate summons mid-battle. You saw Kuja summon Ultros against me. Ultros being one of the recurring comedic bad guys from Final Fantasy VI. And I just got ultimate. That's not fun. So how does Squall fight then? He's primarily a physical guy. He focuses on doing multi-hit combos with his gunblade. For the most part, you have to get in close because otherwise, you're no good. Luckily, a bit of draw lightning will help with that. Now you notice what I seem to be doing is I'm knocking Kuja out of the way. I'm not following him up because one thing you can do is when you hit someone far away like that, you can then jump in after them and undergo a little mini game of sorts. What I am doing now, I'm hitting Kuja away from me, so I can collect all those wonderful little blue orbs that appear after you hit people. Because you see, what they do is they charge up your X meter, which means you can then access your OMG super awesome form, and then you can do really cool finishing moves and whatnot. There's all kinds of fun things in this game. So yeah, there's an X core. Every so often these pop up. These give you a huge boost to your X thingamajig. Yeah. Now you'll notice as well there's the assist characters you can call on as well. You have them appear to do a little extra damage and whatnot. I'm going to summon a Cacta as well because I think I'm going to get hit by his Flare Star. I'm not, thank God, but yeah, Cacta's pretty cool. Does exactly 1000 points of Brave damage, so that means his HP attacks won't be quite as effective. Okay, so I've activated Squall's X mode, which means he equips the Lionheart, which is pretty cool. There we go, so I've used my assist character there to take the damage in place of me, because what that means is I can then avoid getting hit myself. Okay, so when you hit with an HP attack in X mode, you get to activate a little mini game based on your character to do an extra finishing move, which is pretty cool. So as you can see there, if you're using Squall, you get to do Renzazuken, finish with Lionheart. Nice little touches. And of course, the Final Fantasy victory music. Now, of course, one thing is, as you fight, certain things happen, which means you can collect items which you can then use to make better weapons and so on. So, I'm going to play as the Emperor from Final Fantasy II now, the bad guy, fighting against that annoying guy from FF12, the main character who has no personality. Yeah, Van, that's his name. He was effectively put in just because the guys at Square Enix were a little disturbed that their original idea for a main character wasn't a pretty boy with yeah, a very generic pretty boy style character. So what they did was they gave him everything they wanted in a bland and uninteresting character. Oh well. Okay, so the Emperor. How'd the Emperor play? He's pretty much the opposite of Squall in that regard. He's a trap character. He's long range, and he basically, this is how I play him, is set those little crazy fields up there. Then I can just walk up, cast Flare, the HP attack, to slowly knock the health bar down. So I haven't actually explained how this game works then. So basically, you have two kinds of attacks, HP attacks and Brave attacks. What happens is Brave attacks, you see two big numbers beside each character's health bar there. Those are as characters' bravery. This dictates how much damage the HP attack will do to their overall health bar. So there you go. So what you want to do is you really want to try and get your bravery high enough so that HP attacks then will be really strong. And plus also means that you don't get, if you find yourself at 0 bravery and the enemy hits you, they inflict what is known as break status on you, and this completely this gives them a massive boost to their bravery, so you don't want that. Okay, so I'm going to activate the Emperor's, I'd say, one of his best HP attacks. He focuses on being as far away as possible, so something with a good charge like this, as you can see I just summoned a star to land on him, it works pretty well. Plus, it's good having Kane as my assist character, because he can knock someone from the sky back onto the floor, which is really helpful, especially for someone like the Emperor, who's got a particularly strong ground game, I feel. Okay, so unfortunately, yes, the Emperor is not the most exciting character to play as, in a sense, at least in terms of watching, because, let's face it, all he's doing at the moment is just lying a whole load of mines everywhere. But as you can see, that has its own use. You know, you put enough of them about, eventually they're going to find themselves falling into about 500 of them at a time. That's a lot of damage. Okay. Yeah, sucks to be you, Van. Let's see, I'm quite glad that this stage in particular came up, because it is his it does work very well to the Emperor's advantage, because there's few places for someone to run to get away from the many traps you can lay as the Emperor. And Van, although he does have a very strong aerial game with his shotgun, there's not much else going for him, I find. Then again, it could just be because I never really played as him aside from when I was forced to in a story mode, because there's nothing to him. He's a pretty bland character. Okay, so here's the Emperor's X mode. Power of Hellfire, it says. So as you can see, he gets a slightly different minigame. Being from Final Fantasy 2, there wasn't any particularly interesting game mechanics for one to perform on this one, but never mind. So there we go, that's Van dead, and I'm happy about it. And yes, you get a villainous version of the victory theme. I love it. Okay, so I've got all these wonderful things. Emperor's doing that thing where he sits on mid-air. Don't ask. Okay, so that's yeah, you've got to do Sephiroth. And of course, if you're playing as Sephiroth, you have to have one winged angel. Let's see, there's a whole load of different, pretty good ones from Final Fantasy VII, which is good. But yeah, if you're Sephiroth, it's got to be one winged angel. Then fighting Shantae from FF11. Basically, she's irritating. Now, her tactic does appear to be activate various bits and pieces, like critical attacks and whatnot, by being by low health. Unfortunately, it didn't work too well for her, because Sephiroth just killed her in seconds. Shall we... you know what, that didn't really show off Sephiroth, did it now? Let's try this again. We didn't even get to the vocal part in One Winged Angel. Here we go. So there we are. One thing Shantae does, she chains together HP and bravery attacks with her magic. However, when you've got a sword as long as Sephiroth's, that doesn't make much of a difference. So yeah, his Sephiroth strategy really revolves around all kinds of crazy multi-hit stuff. Here we are, and because I've got a sense of irony, here's Kraudu to help him out. Okay, there we are. Finish her off like he did Aeris. No, it's not too soon. She deserved it. Now, of course, Sephiroth's X form is his one-winged angel form. Well, he gets wings, I should say, like in Kingdom Hearts. And I can't remember. I think he does Supernova. All right. Now we know I'm a big fan of Final Fantasy V, so I'm going to have to play as Butts, aren't he? And I'm fighting against Tifa. I'm going for the Genova music here because, let's face it, no one with Tifa's breasts is anything aside from enhanced in some fashion. So clearly an alien's involved. Okay. Now Butts is particularly interesting in that his entire moveset is cribbed from other characters in the game. Which makes sense in that his default outfit is based around the Mime class from Final Fantasy V. So yeah, everything he does is effectively copying somebody else. Now, so you'll notice he draws different weapons depending on whose attack he's copying. So I just did Kane's basic HP attack, basic bravery attack. HP attack there, the Ragnarok Blade is taken from Laguna. Holy, that's borrowed from Terra. This attack is one of Firion's. Don't know what the follow-up is like there, because Firion has a different follow-up to the whole thing. Yeah, see Tifa here. She's a bit of a bitch, and that her AI at this point is designed to basically prevent me from getting anywhere near the EX things. Now I find Tifa quite difficult to fight against because she does a lot of dodging and whatnot. You think you've dodged the attack, turns out nope, that was part of the plan. So there we are, borrow one of Yuna's moves instead. Summon Ifrit, because that's cool. Now one of Cecil's Dark Knight attacks. So yeah, poor old Butts doesn't really have a moveset of his own. Although when he gets to EX mode, which is pretty clever because it's basically he gets the 3 stars above his head that you see in the job selection thing when you've mastered a job in Final Fantasy V. It's based around the famed tactic of double equipping weapons and using the ninja's 2-sword ability to equip 2 weapons, and then using the hunter's X-fight ability to have 8 simultaneous attacks. The top X mode thingamajig for Butts does actually follow that, which is really quite clever. And his dual quick weapons are, of course, the Buster Sword and the Gunblade. So it's basically, yes, this is just too awesome. Okay, now here's a completely random use of a summon that made no sense whatsoever. And the switching around, because why not? So yeah, Carbuncle should have been used there when I was on a very low one, but never mind. Now, as you can tell, I like irony, hence why I seem to have all these arch rivals acting as each other's assists and whatnot. Now, see, if you picked up the preview game for this, which is the only way I can describe it, it's sort of like a demo, but it costs a little more money and whatnot. Came out, I think, a month or so before this. You could actually have Aerith appear as an sister character. Needless to say, it was always perfect to use her and Sephi working together. Alright, let's finish this Tifa off. She's starting to annoy me. So come on, do something useful there, X-Death. Instead, no, I'm just going to summon it for it. Now see, one thing is, you've got to be careful with the particularly high AI, because they have a tendency to dodge everything. So that's why you do need to figure out things like what tanks work well, what links together well. There's a lot to be said as well for the how your characters are equipped and whatnot as well, because there are all kinds of multipliers you can apply to your damage dealt and whatnot. Okay, so I'm going to play as Firion from FF2, the main hero, and I'm fighting against Kane, everyone's favourite mind-controlled nutcase from Final Fantasy IV. Despite me saying this, Kane is pretty cool. I mean, he was like the second hero. In TV tropes, he was the Lancer, which makes sense because he's the he's the dragoon of a lot. Okay, so on to the discussion of the multipliers and whatnot. You notice that Kane there, if you look at the top right, there's all kinds of things there. He's just dropped to 2.6 from times 20. So what this means is, their brave attacks will then do that much damage compared with just the base bit and whatnot. Now the really top level gameplay is heavily dependent on how you manipulate this. Unfortunately, it's very difficult to get all the top items and whatnot, because you have to spend a lot of time grinding for different bits and pieces. It's all quite annoying. Okay, so what makes Firion so awesome then? Basically, his on the ground, all his basic attacks, you can then follow them up with further brave attacks, or you can have a load of fun and follow those up with an HP attack when your enemy's in your clutches. So as you can see, you really just don't want to be anywhere near Firion, because he's going to HP attack you if you give him opportunity, like so. Now they've got him with basically every weapon ever, largely because in FF2 one of the game mechanics does require you level up your proficiency with different weapons and whatnot, along with everything else in that game, based on how much you use them, and Firion here just represents somebody who's mastered everything. Not that I don't know if such a thing could exist, but yeah, poor old FF2. It did have an interesting mechanic in the how everything leveled up based on how it was used. You know, you get more damage based on how many physical attacks you did. Your HP went up, the more damage you took. Of course, what this meant was that it was a really nonsensical way of leveling. You'd find you'd attack your own players more often than not, just because. Yeah, that way you ensure you've got a better defence and so on. Very strange. There's a reason it's not been done ever since. Ow. Well, I don't like you, Kane. Oh dear, he's done a very good job actually with the assist there, because he got Golbez to follow up the basic attack with well, once I was down and then my bravery was set to 0, once I was out of the break status as well, which meant I could be knocked into it again by that summon. He could basically hit me for massive damage, get a huge bravery and take me down one hit. Luckily, Firion was too good for that. Oh yeah. Okay, so one of these wonderful little items, including a muscle belt and a hyper ring. Woo! Yeah, all these items, they add up to the multipliers at the top left. So the multipliers, they actually enhance what items do. So for example, the hyper ring does plus I think 5% damage. So multiplied by 20, you're doing about 100% damage, extra 100% damage. It's awesome. Okay, so I'm going to end with the manliest battle ever. It's Laguna from FF8 and Jekt, FF10's boss. Well, bad guy. He's not the actual boss, but you know what I mean. And what's the music? That's right, it's Otherworld. When we all, let's face it, well, everyone, when we saw Final Fantasy X for the first time, saw that opening sequence with the music, you creamed your pants a little, let's be honest. Okay, so Laguna's a pretty fun character. He is basically every weapon possible. He pulls out his backside and fires at you. So as you can see, he's got a sniper rifle, got a missile launcher there, he throws grenades, got a basic machine gun. I've stuck him in his Galbadian soldier uniform just because I like it. Yeah, so good old Laguna. Best thing about FF8. Yes, let's be honest. He was goofy. He was fun. And he didn't have to put up with all that. Oh, by the way, Guardian Forces memories. Yeah. Yeah. If you've got a problem with me spoiling a game that's what 10 years old now. Well, maybe not 10 years old. Yeah, no, over 10 years old. What am I saying? Yeah, 10-year-old game. I'm just going to remind you that Chaos is actually Garland from the future. There's a mole in your party. Don't know anything about FF3. Cecil and Golbez are brothers. Galuf is from another planet, and both planets were originally one and the same but split in two. Kefka destroys the world. Cloud's not actually a hero, he's just a bit of a loser. Guardian Forces steal your memories. Zidane was created as an avatar of destruction, and Tidus is actually a dream. Okay, so now I've spoiled every first 10 Final Fantasies, let's go on with this. So Jekt, when the first Dissidia came out, Jekt was instantly seized upon by the fandom as their Chuck Norris, as you will, if you will. You know, he is ridiculously manly. You know, he punches everything. He's got an awesome VA. It's pretty fun. And the best part is his EX mode. He actually becomes the final Aeon. You know, like the boss in Final Fantasy X. He becomes that, but you know, human-sized. It's hilarious. Okay, so basically, yeah, Laguna's best bet is to just keep him at arm's length, because, as you can see here, if Jekt hits you, you're in for a world of pain, and he'll just keep punching you, and it's going to hurt. And the fact that he lugs around that massive sword one-handed, there's a lot to be said for that. Okay. Oh, that's just annoying. So I always find it really weird that one of Laguna's HP attacks is summoning a handheld version of the Ragnarok. You know, that wonderful little spaceship, and using it as a sword. It's completely insane, and I love it. Okay, so I'm not liking just how little damage is being done here. So let's just summon the satellite instead. Now, I'm a big fan of the machine gun attack there. It's so good at doing obscene amounts of damage to the opponent. Ooh, I'm suffering, that's not good. Now, what I really want to do here is try and hit Jekt while he's at this low bravery here. Of course, because he's just completed an HP attack, what this means is that, as you can see, it will just regenerate quite quickly. So if you can hit them in that very short space of time between them performing the attack and their bravery being 0, you can get a break on them yourself and hopefully even up the damage once that's done. So that's nice. Okay. There we are, I've got EX mode for Laguna now, so I'm going to have to be very careful here, because good old Jekt, he's very close to having any HP attack do a lot of damage. Well, HP attack will do a lot of damage, it will kill me, I should say, sorry. However, there we go, completed a break, I can now do the same. Now the fun thing about Laguna's X mode, he gets a golden gun. Alright. And what's his X mode? That's right, it's Desperado, his limit break from Final Fantasy VIII. Bit difficult to aim, sadly, but yeah, it does the job. Alright, that's enough of a fight, I just think. Good times. I'm leveled up, isn't that nice? Okay, so this has been Fabs Armed with Controllers. I've been playing Dissidia Duodecim. Join me next time for further video game fun. Please like and subscribe, and as always, game hard.